guest today is a senior friend. We were in the fellowship together back then in Ife, and somebody we always look up onto. Of course, I've had his story here and there, but I also want to get the full gist of his story this evening. So I'm so glad to really bring to the fore a very darling brother and senior friend and pastor. So, Pastor Tony, nice to have you here this evening, sir.
Thank you very much, sir. Please accept my very deep apologies for lagging behind. I mean, I was into, I will explain details to you later, but
yes,
my apologies.
I got details. I got details from your PA. All right, sir. So nice to have you here. I'm so delighted. And
you're welcome.
And our audience have been waiting for you. Thank you, everyone, for your patience. Mm-hmm. All right, sir. So Through It All is a program that's all about using our Through It All experiences and stories to encourage people, to minister to people, to let people know that there's always hope, regardless of what you've been through in life. Your future is still always as bright as anything. All right, sir. So, like I want you to share your story with us, sir, and just start from the genesis of it, and we follow you to the revelation. From childhood and then to who you are now, sir.
All right. Thank you very much once again, Pastor Kola, for the honor of being on your platform. And thank you for the great work that you are doing to bring inspiration and encouragement to many, because other people's stories have a way of inspiring us, knowing that whatever it is that we're passing through, others have passed through it successfully and they have come out unscathed. And that gives us hope that we too can also break through and come out victorious with a great testimony. My name, once again, is Tony Akinyemi. I was born in Ghana on May 1, 1961. A few months ago, I celebrated my 60th birthday, precisely on May 1, 2021. And so I am now in my 60s, to the glory of God. Yeah, I was born to an average family in Ghana. My parents were completely uneducated. They never went to school, not even primary school. I normally joke that if you gave my parents a bottle with a round bottom and give them a pen to draw zero, they will still not get it right. Right. So that was how it was. But of course, my father along the way learned to read the Yoruba Bible when he became a Christian. And that was the only book he could read. He couldn't read any other book. If you gave him any other text, Yoruba text, he couldn't read it. But if you gave him the Bible, he would read it. That was a miracle on its own.
Wow.
Both of them have gone to be with the Lord right now. So I was born in Ghana, like I said, in a small town called Adansi Atobiase in Ashanti region of Ghana. We were there until I was 8.5 years old before we relocated to Nigeria. While we were in Ghana, my parents, my mother was a petty trader. She had what we call provision store, a corner shop where she sold wares and a few, things for the neighborhood. And my dad was a petty farmer, a peasant farmer on the one hand, and he also dealt in diamond. He sold diamond. He bought and sold diamond. He traded in diamond in Ghana. So that was where he was actually making much of his money. So while we were in Ghana, we lived in a village, a very small village, Atobiase. No electricity, no pipe-borne water at that time. I don't know of late, but I know by now things will have changed. But at the time, in the 1960s, no electricity, no pipe-borne water, no hospital, no clinic, no dispensary, no police station. Wow. The only institution we had in that village was just a primary school and a modern school. Those were the two institutions in that village, apart from 1 or 2 or 3 churches that existed. So it was a very close-knit small village, and that was where we grew up. So if you needed any kind of medical care or whatever, you had to rely almost exclusively on natural remedies. You know, we had this tree growing in front of our house, the dogoyaro tree, the neem tree, and that was like the pharmacy for the whole village. Everybody came there to take the tree bark, the roots, the leaves, to go and boil, you know, to drink against malaria and other such ailments. So you can imagine the setting where I grew up. But then life was good to the extent that my parents could afford. At least we were not hungry. And then we lived life as we knew it. And then came 1969, when Ghana had a general election. They had 2 prominent presidential candidates at the time. Bedema was one of them, and Bushia was the other one. And one of them promised that if he won the presidential election, he was going to retain so-called illegal aliens. And the other one said, well, if I win the election, I'm going to send away all illegal aliens. They have taken over our economy. They are the ones in entrepreneurship, in business, in this and that. Ghanaians don't have a hold on anything. Foreigners have taken over our land. As soon as you elect me president, I will send all of them away so that Ghanaians can take over their shops, take over their businesses, and become, you know, prosperous and what have you. And of course, that promise deceived Ghanaians, and most of them voted for him. And so Bushia won the election, and of course, he implemented his campaign promise and told all aliens to check out of Ghana. I mean, we were born in Ghana, so technically we were supposed to be Ghanaian citizens, you know, by birth. But then we were still regarded as illegal aliens. And so by the last quarter of 1969, we had to leave Ghana under very, very strong and stringent conditions. So that's how we found ourselves in Nigeria. When we got to Nigeria, my parents, being unskilled workers, I mean, didn't have anything to fall back on when we got to Nigeria. My parents had 8 children at the time. I think we lost one. Sorry, 7 children, we lost one. So we were 6 that came from Ghana. 6 of us came from Ghana, 4 boys and 2 girls. So you can imagine a family with 6 children with no skills, no job, and nothing to fall back on. And here we were. We had to go back to our hometown in Osun State. The place is called Konya, in Odotin local government area in Osun State. And while we were there, of course, we were enrolled back in school. I was in primary 3. I had done first term of primary 3 in Ghana before we left. So when we got to Nigeria, I had to start all over primary 3 because the calendar in Ghana, academic calendar, was different from that of Nigeria. In Ghana, they were running September to June calendar, even back then. But Nigeria was running January to December calendar. So I had done first time primary 3 from September 1969 to December 1969. I had done first time primary 3. When I got to Nigeria 1970 January, I had to start first time primary 3 again. So I did 4 terms in primary 3. But thankfully, by the time I got to primary 6, Nigeria also took after the September-June calendar. Okay. So my primary 6 was actually 2 terms. I did January to March for first term and April to June for second term, and wrote my primary 6 school leaving certificate exam in June of 1973 at the age of 12. Now, I graduated from primary school, local authority primary school, Okegbonawa in Ondo State. I went through 6 different primary schools before I completed my primary 6 education because my parents were relocating because my father was a laborer. When he came to Nigeria, he became a laborer. He was weeding farms for farmers. If you had a cocoa farm, you hired him, he would come and help you weed your farm, and you paid him daily paid. That was how my father was earning income to sustain. And in fact, when he went to work, they would give him cocoyam, give him vegetables, give him things. That was how we were able to feed. It was tough. Wow. And despite all those very serious poverty conditions, I still managed to graduate with a grade A in my primary 6 exam. And in fact, I was the best graduating pupil in my primary school. And so when I graduated in primary 6, I thought that with my excellent academic performance, I would get a scholarship to go further, but that didn't happen. So my dad, looking at his circumstance and looking at the reality on ground, proposed that I should enroll as an apprentice, a bicycle repairer. And he located one man in the city nearest to us. We were living in Kajola, a village, about probably 5-6 kilometers away from Ondo town. And he located a bicycle repairer in Ondo town known as Baba Anofi. Baba Anofi was a popular bicycle repairer in Ondo town. He had made a fortune out of bicycle repairing because he has so many small bicycles, medium range bicycles for young people under 10s and teens to hire. Children would just hire the bicycle and ride and pay for the number of minutes that they rode the bicycle. We used to call it inarobo, at that time. And so he made a lot of money. And in fact, he was able to build his own house as a bicycle repairer. He had a 10-room house that he built, and my father said, look, this man is making it. He has become a landlord from this bicycle repairing. You too can become somebody, repairing bicycles. That was the template that he saw. That was the easiest thing that he could imagine. So he felt, look, go ahead and go for this thing. And I looked at it because, you see, my name is Anthony Babatunde Akinyemi. All right. Now, how did I become Anthony? My dad told me the story that he named me Anthony after Anthony Enahoro.
Wow.
And he said, look, I love Anthony Enahoro. I like him. And I want my son to be like him. So when I was born, he named me after him. That was how I became Anthony. Then I am named Babatunde in Yoruba culture. If a man loses his father and then he gives birth to a son after that, it is assumed that that is the father that died that had come back to the family. So they named me Babatunde. So he regarded me as his father that has come back. Okay. So those two things distinguished me from among my father's children. Of course, he had 2 more children when we got to Nigeria. So right now we are 8 surviving out of 9 children. We are 6 boys and 2 girls. Now, among the 8 children, he gave me a special treatment because number 1, he felt that I was his hero, Anthony Enahoro, and number 2, I was his father that came back. So my father, of course, I don't believe all of that, but but that was my father's belief, and he never beat me. I can't remember once that my father ever touched me because he couldn't imagine beating his own father.
Beating his father.
So that was how I was pampered. But despite the pampering, I was not spoiled. I wasn't a spoiled child. Even at that tender age, I knew what I wanted because my father had planted in my head that I was to become another Anthony Enahoro. And so I asked my father, I said, if I went for this bicycle repairing apprenticeship, how do I become Anthony Enahoro through that? So I told him, Daddy, I want to go to school. But he said, you see, our condition. He said, even if you sold me and sold your mother, we cannot pay your school fees. So why not face reality and go for what is available? And I said, no, sir, let us explore everything possible before we throw in the towel. And I said, look, let me go and look for a job. I was 12. Let me go and look for a job. Let me save money. And when I have saved enough money, I will sponsor myself to high school. Of course, he agreed with me. So I had to go search for a job. And what could a 12-year-old primary 6 school certificate, what kind of job could you earn? I mean, in 1973, the only job I could earn was to become a domestic servant, what we call house help, or, whatever other nomenclature we give to it. In Nigeria, that is a common thing. People get domestic servants to do stuff for them at home. So I got a job as a domestic servant and I worked for 4 solid years, And at the age of, as a teenager, when I was 13, thereabout, I opened an account in a bank, National Bank of the old National Bank. I was earning 3 naira a month at that time. That was my salary as a domestic servant, 3 naira a month. I mean, that was 36 naira per annum. And then After some time, that increased to 4 naira a month. By the 4th year, that went up to 5 naira a month. So my salary increased from 36 naira per annum to 60 naira per annum, between 1973 and 1977. And I was saving all the money in my national bank account. And the account I opened was called Christmas Shilling Fund. Christmas Shilling Fund. And that was because National Bank had 2 such accounts for children. One was called Ilea Shilling Fund. The other one was called Christmas Shilling Fund. It was for children. You could save, but you couldn't withdraw. You were permitted to withdraw only once in a year. And that would be during Christmas for Christians and during Ilea for Muslims. So I opened one of such accounts to discipline myself so that I wouldn't touch the money. I could only deposit, I couldn't withdraw until Christmas time. So whenever I earned my salary, I put it in that account. When my boss's friends came around and they sent me on errands, or I cooked for them and they were impressed, they would give me tips. All my tips went into that account. That was how, as a 12 to 16-year-old boy, I was saving up for my education. Wow. Of course, I was living with my boss. My parents were in the village. They were in the farm. After 4 years of saving money, I calculated I knew the school fees, for tuition for secondary school at that time. It wasn't much because I remember Form 1, tuition was 60 naira per annum. Form 2, tuition was 55 naira per annum. Form 3, tuition was 70 naira per annum. That was the fee at that time. 1977, 1978, 79, 80 to 82. So by 1976, I felt I had saved enough money to now attempt to go to secondary school, at least to pay for the first few years. Unfortunately, I was so sure of myself that I was brilliant that I didn't need to take entrance forms for multiple schools. So I took only for one school, only one school, Ondo Anglican Grammar School. And I wrote the exam. When I finished the exam, I brought the paper, of course, the question paper back home. I gave it to those who were in high school to check for me to see if I did well. And when they graded my script, I scored in the 90s by their own grading. So I knew I did well. I knew I did very well. I was hoping that I would gain admission to Ondo Anglican Grammar School. But unfortunately, the result came out and mysteriously, I was not admitted. Wow. And that was a big blow to me. I said, what happened? What happened? Anyway, wow. I cried and cried and cried as a child. I didn't know what happened. I later found out a few things, which may be true or false. I don't want to say it here, why I was not admitted. Okay. So by the following year, 1977, I decided to now obtain the entrance application form for 3 different schools, so that I wouldn't take the same chance I took the previous year. So this time I took Ondo Anglican Grammar School, I took Ondo Boys High School, and I took St. Joseph's College, Ondo. And beautifully, I was admitted in all 3. So now, because of what Ondo Anglican Grammar School did to me the previous year, I said, I'm not going there. So I opted for St. Joseph's College. So that was how I was admitted in St. Joseph's College, 1977-78 academic year. Now, by the time I was in Form 1, in those days, it was Form 1 to Form 5. Yeah. When I was in Form 1, my classmates in primary school were in Form 5 when I was in Form 1, in the same school. You can imagine the psychological trauma that was on me, bearing in mind that I was the best among all of them. I beat all of them hands down in primary school. Now they were in Form 5, preparing for WAEC. Now I was just 100 level, Form 1. But, I knew what I wanted. I knew where I was going. I did not allow that to bother me or to affect me, even though as a child, it was emotionally traumatizing, psychologically traumatizing. That's right. But then I put up with it I wasn't even born again. I wasn't even a Christian at the time, but I was laser focused. I knew what I wanted. My daddy had helped to paint a picture that I was to become Antonio Nahoro. And I wanted to, make sure I became Antonio Nahoro. I didn't want my own Anthony to be any less than that of Antonio Nahoro. So I put in everything, I became like a straight line. I went between school and home, nowhere else. School and home, nowhere else. Until later I became a triangular student. I will explain that later. So when I was in Form 1, I told myself that I was going to do so well in Form 1 that by the time I wrote Form 1 promotion exam to Form 2, and I scored almost 100% in all my subjects, the school will have no option than to promote me from Form 1 to Form 3, give me double promotion. That was my target. I wanted double promotion by all means, and I wanted to go from Form 1 to Form 3. Why did I think so? Because when we were in Ghana, when I was in primary 2 in Ghana, you know, my class teacher boasted so well about me to those in senior classes, primary 3, primary 4, primary 5, that I was so good I could write the same exam with them and beat them. Wow. And I was actually made to write the promotion exam with primary 4 pupils who were writing promotion exam to primary 5. They were in primary 4 going to primary 5. I was in primary 2 going to primary 3, and they made me to sit the same exam with primary 4 pupils, their promotion exam, and I passed. I passed that exam from primary 4 to 5, and the school was actually going to promote me from primary 2 to primary 5 in Ghana. Wow! But my father stood against. My father stood against it and said, no, this boy is only 8 years old. I don't want him in primary 5. Let him go at his own pace. You know, so by the time I was in St. Joseph's College in Form 1, I told myself that I could still repeat that feat, that I could do well and get promoted to Form 3. And then when I got to Form 3, I would do so well. I would also get double promotion to Form 5. So at least I could gain 2 years out of the 4 years that I had lost. That was my childish thinking. But I didn't understand that it is not the same as in primary school. You know, you have to lay a foundation for whatever subject you want to pursue in Form 3. That's where you do your sciences, your, you know, different arts and commercials and what have you. So, of course, I did very well in Form 1, but I was not given double promotion. So I had to spend the whole 5 years in high school. But thankfully, when I finally got to Form 5 in 1982, 1981-82, I wrote the WAEC exam, and I wanted to do GC, but my teacher then, an Indian teacher, in fact, I had Indians, Ghanaians, and Europeans, you know, as my teachers. I think I had only 1 or 2 Nigerians who were my teachers. They were all either Asians or Europeans that were my teachers in St. Joseph's at that time. So one of my teachers who taught me further maths and physics, further maths and mathematics rather, Mr. Varugis, he told me I didn't need to do GC, I shouldn't waste my time. I should just concentrate on my WAEC, June 1982, and that it would be fine. So I concentrated, and I took 8 subjects, and I had A's in all the 8 subjects at the end of the day. You know, I had 4 A1s and 4 A3s, you know, and now to select my university course was a problem. Because number one, I was good in the arts, I was good in the sciences, I was good in commercial subjects. In fact, I was the leader of the school literary and debating society. I was the one leading the school in all debates when I was, that was in the Department of Arts. And then I was also leader in the science competition in the school. So that's the Department of Science. In fact, I represented my school at the local government level in science competition in 1981, and I won. I represented my local government at the state level, the old Ondo state, that's currently Ondo and Ekiti states. I represented my local government in Akure, and I won. I came first. And then I represented the old Ondo state, Ondo and Ekiti states, in Lagos for the national competition in Abuja. I didn't come first in that one. I can't remember what my position was. But I mean, I was the best science student in the old Ondo state, current Ondo and Ekiti states. So you can imagine now to choose a university course was a problem. Do I go for engineering? Do I go for medicine? Do I go for pharmacy? Do I go for, it was difficult. In fact, my vice principal, Mrs. Akinyemi, wanted me to study medicine because she felt I would be a good family physician and she would adopt me as a family doctor. You know, she pressed me to do medicine. But I didn't want to study medicine for 1 or 2 reasons. One, because I wanted to go to only University of Ife and no other. I didn't want to go to any other university other than Ife. For whatever reason, I just felt that Ife was it. I liked the architecture. I liked the beauty of the environment. And then Ife had a very good reputation. And I felt that, Ife was the Harvard of Nigeria. And if I must go to any university, I would go there. In fact, I did so well in the National Science Quiz competition. I was given almost a free ticket to University of Ilorin at that time. University of Ilorin was new. The registrar of University of Ilorin was there at the NTH and F10 in Lagos, Amadu Bello, to assure those of us who came for the competition that if we chose Ilorin, we were as good as in. But I felt, look, if I was good, I should be able to earn my admission on merit. I didn't want any railroading into any school. And I didn't want to go to a second generation university. I wanted the first generation, one of the best. So I decided to choose Ife. But then my dilemma was that Ife at that time was, medicine was 7 years. You had to do 4 years BSc Health Sciences before you now went for 3 years clinicals, which will make it 7. And then you do 1 year housemanship, making it 8. And then 1 year NYSC, making it 9. Before you now think of specializing. So I looked at myself, I said, look, I was already an uncle before I entered secondary school. If I had to go through that long route, I probably would be in my 30s before I got certified. So that discouraged me. I didn't want to pursue medicine for the length of years. And then number 2, I also hated the sight of blood. I couldn't stand it. But of course, I didn't understand that if you got trained, you will be trained along those, you'll be able to overcome all of that. Then number 3, I wanted a course that was mathematics oriented. I couldn't imagine myself doing the easy subjects. I wanted the tough subjects, further maths, mathematics, pure maths, applied maths, chemistry, physics, quantum physics, all of those things that we regarded as the toughest of the subjects. I felt that was where tough people should be found, not the easy subjects. Because in those days, the physics that those who did medicine, the course they took was physics 105 or so, which was an easier version of physics. And those of us in engineering and pure sciences, we did physics 101, 102, which was the tougher version. So I felt that medicine was too easy, I didn't want the easy course. I wanted a real tough one. So I actually wanted to study mathematics and become a PhD holder in mathematics because that was my best subject. But one of my classmates in high school, whose father was a top civil servant who was well exposed, the boy was well exposed, much younger than me. Jude Agro is his name. I don't know where he is right now on the globe, but he was the one that helped me to make up my mind in the course that I chose eventually. He was so exposed because every long vacation, his father took him to England on vacation. I went to the village, to the cocoa farm on vacation, So he was well exposed. So when he learned that I was going to study mathematics in the university, he called me and said, Tony, do you want to die as a teacher? I said, you come from a poor family, you still want to die a poor man? So he discouraged me. I said, look, I just wanted mathematics. And he then helped me to go through the university brochure. And he spotted computer science with mathematics, combined honors, University of Ife. I said, why not do computer science with mathematics if you insist on mathematics? At least that will give you a professional course, computer science. And it was new at that time. Computer science was not popular at the time in the 1980s. So that was how I chose computer science with mathematics at Ife, which was a 5-year program. And I was going to earn a double honors degree, a degree in computer science and a degree in mathematics at the same time. So I entered Ife. I took JAMB at that time. I still remember I scored 321 in my JAMB over 400. Wow. Okay, my score was 321, and I came to Ife and then I did my 100 level. By the time we completed our 100 level, the university introduced a new course, computer engineering, to our department. And they told those of us JAMBites who had just completed our 100 level, if we wanted to switch to computer engineering, we could apply. And so I looked at it and I felt, I think the engineering aspect would be better than the software aspect because engineering is hardware and then computer science is software. I was always looking for something hard. So that was how I switched to computer engineering. And I had to now spend the remaining 4 years along the track of computer engineering. So I graduated as a BSc holder in computer engineering in 1987. And again, I graduated as the best graduating student in computer engineering at Ife. We were the first set in any university in Africa in computer engineering. And that's how I became a computer engineer. And then I was posted to serve in Lagos as a youth corper. I did my NYC in Lagos. I wanted to go back to Ife to do my master's and then my PhD. I wanted to become a professor and possibly become the vice chancellor of the university. That was my dream in life. That was the only way I could be as famous as Antonio Nahoro. Because that was my hero. That was the image in front of me that I was looking at. Of course, let me now talk about how Jesus Christ influenced my path. Now, when I was in St. Joseph's, by the tail end of my Form 1, there was a crusade that was held at the Ondo Town Hall by the First Square Gospel Church. And I just attended out of curiosity as a teenager. I was 17. I was 16 going to 17. I was just about a few weeks to my 17th birthday. I attended, and the preacher was Reverend Mitchell Bello Baba, a Caucasian Canadian. He was the dean of the Life Bible College in Ikorodu, but he was the preacher, a white man, Canadian. His name sounds Nigerian because it's Bello Baba, and he preached and said at the crusade, I still remember his message till today. I'm talking of 1978, April 1978. He said his grandfather was a pastor. His father was a pastor, but that didn't mean that he was born a Christian. So that didn't mean he was born a Christian. That for you to become a Christian, you have to repent and receive Jesus Christ as your Lord and Savior for yourself and by yourself. That you cannot inherit Christianity from your parents. And that shook my theology, because I thought that because I was born into the church, I was christened in the church, I was baptized in the church, I had my baptismal certificate from Methodist Church, in Ghana, and I thought I was a Christian, and I went to church every Sunday. I thought I was a Christian, but he shook my beliefs and my theology, that didn't make you a Christian. The fact that it was as if we were having a conversation. I was in the congregation, in the crowd, at the town hall. He was on the podium preaching, and it was as if the two of us were having a conversation. He was answering every question that was cropping up in my mind. Wow. He shattered me. He destabilized me completely. And I started resisting. I said, no, you can't convince me otherwise. I am a Christian. You can't convince me otherwise. I am a Christian. But I left that place. He made the altar call. I didn't respond to the altar call to give my life to Christ. But I walked away disturbed, confused. And for the next couple of days, I lost my peace. So after a few days, one day, I locked myself in the room, in the house, alone. And I knelt down beside my bed. And I said, Lord, that preacher said, I am not a Christian. I said, I want to become a Christian. I want to become your child. I said, if indeed it is true, today I receive Jesus as my Lord and Savior, please make me a child of God. That was how, on my knees in my room, I accepted Jesus as my Lord and Savior. And the kind of peace that flooded my heart was so amazing, it's indescribable. By the time I rose up, I knew it for a fact that now I was a child of God. I was born again. My name is now in the book of life. That was the tail end of Form 1. Form 1 ended in June 1978. I gave my life to Christ in April 1978. So I now joined the First Square Gospel Church in Ondo Town. Incidentally, last weekend, they were having their convocation, and I was there with them this past weekend, back to that same Hope Church where I surrendered my life to Christ, and they discipled me. So you can imagine, when I now resumed Form 2, I now had Jesus along with me on my journey. Now, by the time I saved money to sponsor myself in high school, the money I had saved was only sufficient to pay for Form 1, Form 2, Form 3 tuitions. It was not enough to pay for Form 4 and Form 5. So I went to high school by faith, that before I would run out of money, somehow God will raise help for me, and I would get money to pay for Form 4 and Form 5. And even if I didn't get, I could drop out at Form 4 as S75 in those days. You could do S75. That was the way I went there. But as God will have it, by the time I completed my Form 2 in 1979, UPN government came to Ondo State, the Unity Party of Nigeria, headed by Obafemi Awolowo, Chief Obafemi Awolowo, the party. So UPN won the governorship election. Adekunle Ajasin became the governor of Ondo State, and free education at primary and secondary school level was introduced. So I didn't need to pay school fees in Form 3. I didn't need to pay school fees in Form 4 and in Form 5. And then we even got free books, free uniform. Wow, it was a miracle. That was how I didn't have to bother about how to pay school fees, because in my Form 1, Form 2, every Saturday, I went to work for bricklayers. I served them. I fetched water. I mixed mortar. I carried block. Sometimes I went to sawmills to work in sawmills to earn 2 naira a day. That was the daily wage at that time. And I was putting all of that money in my bank account. I mean, as a teenager, that's why today I don't get it when I see teenagers who are complaining and saying, I'm hustling, and there is no support, no encouragement, and this and that and that. There was one teenager the other day, I think he was about 17 or 18, and he said he was complaining about his parents. I said, what did they do? He said they would put him in school. He was a day student in Unilag, I think, and he was going from home. And then he stopped going to school. He said he wouldn't go to school again. So the parents were confused. They were worried. So they had to report him to me to intervene. I was a pastor at the time in the 1990s. So I called him and I said, young man, why did you stop going to school? What is the problem? He said his parents were not supportive. What do you mean by that? He said every day it was only beans that was available to eat at home. No other food. He said, how could he be going to school and be eating beans every single day? No other food. Wait a minute. So I just told him a bit of my own story. I said, you still have a parent that is giving you beans to eat. I said, this education they are giving you is what we deliver you from these daily beans. But if you don't focus on it, then you are going to eat less than beans in the future. And you have to push wheelbarrows to be able to even eat less than beans. You know, I talked sense into his head and God took control. He was able to go back to school. He has completed now. Okay. So I have met quite a number of people who have better opportunities than I do or than I did. And they are complaining about it. And I said, look, we have passed through worse situations, but look at where we are today. Today, I have 3 degrees. I have a degree in computer engineering. I have a degree in theology. And I have a degree in nutritional consulting. Okay. So how did I make all of this? All through a dint of hard work, faith in God, remaining laser focused, and the fact that I met Jesus changed the story altogether. By the time I finished high school and I entered university, of course, I joined the Christian Fellowship on campus. And that was a big family that was so supportive to me. I mean, you were on campus at the same time, and you used to know me. My neck was this long. You know how I was like this. There were times at Ife that all I ate for 30 days, 1 whole month, all I ate was gari in water. So gari, no sugar, no granite, nothing to go with it, because I had no dime in my pocket.
And you were always
there were a few brethren in the fellowship, particularly sisters, who were very sensitive, who could read. They could read that this guy is suffering, and they would just come and drop, a food flask loaded with rice and dodo in my room. Anonymously. Up to today, I don't know some of them who dropped the food. That my roommate would just say, somebody brought this flask of food for you. They said from ECU, Evangelical Christian Union. And that was how occasionally I had parties, in my room with food. And when I got to my final year eventually, and I was doing my final year project, I did a project on the process control, how you could use microprocessors to kind of control processes in factories. If you know how a particular product is produced on an assembly line, you could actually automate the process, using hardware and software combination. It's called process control. That was what my project was all about. I designed a microprocessor-based device that could control factory processes, but I didn't have money to implement. I didn't have money to write to print my thesis and bind it and submit. And God sent people to me. I didn't have to ask. Strangely, 3 different people, without asking them, just gave me money, just enough for my project. And I was able to graduate. And then I came to Lagos and I began to work. And of course, I became the chief engineer of the company I worked for. I came in as a trainee engineer. Eventually, I rose up to become the chief engineer before I finally resigned to go into personal business and full-time ministry at the end of the day. So that has been the journey of my life. Today, to the glory of God, God has brought us this far. I don't have the time to tell all the things in between then and now. But today, by the grace of God, we have so many initiatives in place. We have set up the Reverend Tony Akinyemi Scholarship Foundation, which is over 10 years, and it's about 11 years old now. And we have sponsored to date, I believe over 200 or so students from primary through university.
Wow.
We have so many scholars. In fact, a number of our scholars graduated with first class. Every year we always have first class among them because we sponsor indigent but brilliant students. If you are brilliant and you are indigent, your parents cannot afford to sponsor you, or you are an orphan, we take you up from primary school through secondary school through university, and we pay 100% of your tuition until you graduate. We have sponsored over 200 people right now. Right now, we probably have over 100 people right on our scholarship foundation. And then, of course, we have a crèche where we are beginning to build up to see how we can contribute to the educational sector. We hoping to have full-fledged primary school and secondary school as time goes on. We also have a Healthy Living Institute where we coach people on healthy living. That was as a result of my health challenge, which God helped me to overcome.
I actually want you to talk about the health challenge that led to that, because how you switched from computer engineering now to a nutritionist, so to speak. I want you to tell us, no matter how briefly, the story of that health thing that now brought you into what part of what you do now.
Well, you very well know that's a very long one, but I'll try. When I became chief engineer of Champs Nigeria Limited, I was also privileged to be called upon to pioneer a parish of the Foursquare Church. So I pioneered the Oregon Foursquare Church. So I was a pastor, I was a chief engineer. I also had several churches under me that I supervised. I was a zonal superintendent, okay? And then I was a busy itinerant preacher. I was going from place to place preaching. I was very busy. And I never had vacation. For 5 years, no vacation, no rest. I was choked bumper to bumper, back to back. And at the end of the day, I didn't have an idea about what it meant to live a healthy lifestyle. I could eat dinner at 12 midnight. It was whenever I arrived home, it was dinner time, and at a point I wasn't drinking water anymore. I made Fanta my best, soft drink, my drink. Anytime I ate, it was Fanta I drank, because I attended a health lecture where they said that the typhoid was transmitted through water, essentially. And so I stopped drinking water. That's what I taking soft drinks. And by the time I was 36, that was in 1997, my health began to decline. I started experiencing fatigue, loss of energy, and all kinds of symptoms began to show up. And it was getting worse and worse. By the time I cataloged everything, there were over 30 different symptoms in my body. In fact, it got so bad, I went to the toilet and I would be stooling blood. Okay, I would scratch my throat and spit out, and it would be blood. And I had this persistent headache. I was obese, and my BP was haywire, and all kinds of things were in place. At that point, I went to the hospital, to be checked, and they couldn't really pinpoint precisely. They couldn't diagnose anything specific. They started giving me vitamins and B complex and all of that. I didn't change anything. By the time it was getting worse and worse, I had to travel abroad, to be examined, and they started, diagnosing all kinds of very, very strange things and scary things. In fact, I got some cancer scares. There was a consultant in UCH that suspected cancer of the stomach and sent me for upper GI endoscopy and biopsy to confirm that diagnosis. Okay, there was another one in the US that was suspecting brain tumor. Okay, because of the headaches that I was having. And then there was another one that was suspecting colon or colorectal cancer because of the bleeding, through the anus. There was another one that was suspecting cancer of the throat, all kinds of scary preliminary diagnosis. And I came back and I told myself, even if I went for those tests and they confirmed the diagnosis with a biopsy, was I ready to go through the gruesome treatment that would follow? At that point, I told myself I wasn't ready. And I said, I would rather hold on to God to heal me, or if he cannot heal me, let him kill me. So I prayed to God and said, God, heal me or kill me. One of the two. Those are the two options. Just choose one. It was a desperate prayer. And then I heard him speak to me. God said to me, son, don't destroy this temple because you cannot rebuild it in 3 days. And that was startling. I felt, God, what are you trying to say? Are you trying to suggest that I'm the one destroying this body of mine? Because I understood that this body of mine is the temple of the Holy Spirit. And is God suggesting that I am the one destroying this temple? I mean, I never smoked in my life. I never drank alcohol in my life. I got born again at 16, going to 17. I never had a girlfriend in my life. I married as a virgin, and I had remained faithful to my wife ever since. I've never known two women in my life. So what exactly did I do that contributed to this problem? You know, I didn't take it kindly, but I had to humble myself before God and had to ask him, please show me what I'm doing wrong.
What you're doing
and
wrong.
Then God had to begin to open my eyes to know that my diet was completely upside down. I mean, how could I be eating eba at 12 midnight? You know, how could I not be drinking water and be drinking soft drinks as a substitute for water? If I made my beverage, tea in those days, I would put these cocoa products, Bonvita, Milo, what have you, Ovaltine, it would be almost half the teacup. And then I would almost empty half a tin of milk into it and just add a little hot water. It was more or less like chocolate, what I call tea. that was how I drank my tea. And I was very, very stressed out. I was a workaholic. And God began to show me all the things I was doing wrong that were contributing to my health failure. And that if I could make adjustments in those things, I would be well. So I bought a book at the bookshop because God told me specifically to go to Just Bibles bookshop, where one sister, Esther Ajayi, who is the manager. Sister Esther Ajayi, incidentally, was also an ECU sister. So when I got there, I asked her, I said, is there any book on healing or health that you have here? All of them, get me one copy and gather them. So Sister Esther gathered all the books, a whole carton. And I paid for them. I went home, I started reading. That's how I became a student of healthy living, and from some of those books, I gleaned out a 10-point agenda of what I needed to adjust in my life for my health to improve. And I started following it. I mean, anything I choose to follow, I throw my whole life into it. If I believe in something, I follow through. I am not a half-hearted person. If I don't believe in it, you won't find me there. If I believe in it, I put my whole being inside. So I followed through and I saw my symptoms disappearing. I mean, It's been about 21, 22 years now. And look at me. I'm still standing to the glory of God. I was not sure. When I was 36, 37, I was not sure I was going to see my 40th birthday. Judging by the way I was feeling in my body, I wasn't sure. But now I have celebrated 60 this year. It's so amazing to me. People ask me every now and then, all this healthy living stuff that you're talking about, supposing you die now, won't people say that upon all your healthy living stuff, see how you still died? I said, well, if it is the last 20 years that I have gained, is all that this thing has added to my life, I think it's been worth it. If there is a medicine out there that can add 20 years to people's life, people will be willing to pay millions to buy that medicine. And so whatever it is I am doing right now that has given me 22 to 24 years extra to the glory of God, I think it's been worth it. Even if I die at 60, I have not died in vain. And by the grace of God, I shall not die but live to declare the works of God.
There's still much work ahead of you, sir.
That's right. Yeah. So that was how Sister Esther Ajayi now. She used to be Esther Asukwo when we were on campus, So she gave me those books. I took them home. I read. I came up with my my plan. I followed through. My symptoms disappeared. My health improved. And so I decided that, okay, I needed to share the things I have learned with my congregation as a pastor. So I began to share it with them. I called it My Body, His Temple. And as I shared with them, many people deployed the same things, and it worked for them too. Testimonies started coming. They encouraged me to go on radio, to go on television. That's how we are today. Today, every Monday, we are on YouTube, on Facebook, 8 p.m. Nigerian time. It's called Expose with Tony Akinyemi. And we've been sharing nuggets and nuggets. I mean, it's been amazing. And the feedback we get, in fact, somebody just sent me an email yesterday, was so heartwarming. I mean, a WhatsApp message. She was having kidney impairment, heading for dialysis and all of that. And I placed him on a dietary program and a few suggestions. Yesterday, she sent in her report. Her kidney function is now perfect. Everything is all right. And she couldn't hold back her joy. She was so excited. So, wow, just changing my diet and lifestyle can make my health to improve this way. And I've seen many, many others like that. So at the end of the day, as I started teaching these things, of course, you know, the way human beings are, they started questioning my credibility, my qualification. Are you a doctor? Are you a pharmacist? How can you be talking about health? In fact, somebody even, you know, mischievously called me a wannabe the other day. He said, I want to be a doctor. He said I couldn't study medicine, and now I wish I could be a doctor. So, I told him, I said, every school that I attended, primary school, secondary school, university, I graduated as the best in every set that I went through. So how can you say that I wanted to be and I couldn't be? My daughter is also a medical doctor at the end of the day, by the way, you know. And I told them, I said, well, if you want to know my credentials are ex-diabetics, ex-hypertensives, ex-arthritics. Those are my credentials. And in any way, in order to give further credibility to what I'm doing, I had to enroll now to train as a nutritional consultant. So at least I have some certification to back what I'm doing. And that's what's made me to study nutritional consulting at the end of the day. So
Hallelujah.
That's the story.
Hallelujah. Thank you so much. Your story is so inspiring. You know, like when people see you today, they can never imagine what you've been through in the past. They can never imagine that you look so like this boys we call it. You look like a jebota that doesn't know what they call pong and shovel.
Let me tell you a story here. You know, a church wanted to hold a conference, a seminar for young people, teenagers and youths. They wanted to inspire them, you know, and they wanted somebody who has a story, you know, what the Yorubas call atakpata dide. They wanted somebody from a very, you know, lowly background, humble background, to come and share how they rose from grass to grace, you know. And somebody suggested my name to the pastor. And the pastor, no, I don't want Tony. He's an ajebota. I want somebody who...
If only people know what we have been through.
I mean...
you know, before you leave, Bro Tony, I want you to just... I want you to advise and counsel people that maybe have been through what you've been through in the past, the poor side of it, and they've just condemned themselves and just felt, oh, we can never be like them. Oh, we were never destined to really become anything in life. I want you to talk to them, sir.
Well, let me say up front that God packaged each one of us with great potentials. There's nobody God packaged and sent to this world without potentials. Nobody is sent here to merely occupy space. Everyone is on a divine assignment. We must all find out our assignment and we must pursue it with vigor. Of course, Jesus said, without me, you can do nothing. And Paul the Apostle said, I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. There is an aspect where the same God who packaged us and sent us into this life, there is a role he has to play in supplying the needed grace and the needed strength for us to be able to actualize and bring out the potentials that we have in us. If we remove the God factor and we want to go it all by ourselves, that is a recipe for failure and a recipe for disaster. Of course, I did a series recently on YouTube that I called Financial Intelligence, and I made a very, very profound statement that when it comes to success in life, you cannot do it without God. I said, you alone can't do it, and God alone won't do it. I mean, mark my words. I said, you alone can't do it, and God alone won't do it. In other words, if you want to truly succeed by the true meaning of success, because there is good success and there is bad success. There are people who don't know God, who have not committed their life to God, who are making money and making fame, and people regard them as successful. But that's bad success, because the Bible says, what shall it profit a man if he gains the whole world and suffers the loss of the soul? Okay, success transcends this life. It's not just about this life. There is this life part of it, and there is the next life part of it. That's why, again, I have come up with a 5F plan, which I call the 5F agenda. Now, if you are truly successful, your faith in God must be solid. You must have a relationship with God and fellowship with him regularly. Number 2, you must be fit. Your health must be good. Number 3, you must have family and friends. And number 4, you must be able to have good financial standing. And number 5, your future after this life must be guaranteed. If you are set and balanced in those 5 areas, then you are truly successful. And nobody can achieve that dimension of success without God. That's why it's imperative for anyone in this life to identify the fact that God is our helper. And if you will let him, it doesn't matter what your background is. It doesn't matter how lowly you have been or where you come from, you can rise to the very top. In fact, I think that our lowly background should become the main inspiration for us to want to break out of that lowly background. So for somebody to resign and say, no, I am disadvantaged, I cannot make it, is to sentence themselves to perpetual suffering and lack. But I think that what you have suffered up till this moment should spur you on to want to break out of that. I tell people I have eaten poverty raw. I have eaten it baked. I have eaten it fried. I have eaten it cooked. I know how it tastes, no matter how you prepare it. And I don't want anybody after me to taste poverty, because it doesn't taste nice. It doesn't matter how you spice it. It doesn't taste nice. And thankfully, you can break out of it. It doesn't matter where you're coming from. So there is hope for everyone, if only you can believe it. But if you don't believe it, well, Jesus says, let it be unto you according to your faith. If you believe that you can come out of it, you will come out of it. I'm sure you've brought several people on this platform who have shared their stories, how they broke out of the background they came from. And my story is another addition to that.
Yeah. Actually, that's the purpose for this program, Through It All. People that have been through it all, and despite what they've been through, they've excelled. They are really, thriving and making headways in life. And they have not allowed whatsoever they have been through in life to hold them down. They've not made their future to be tied to their past. And they keep complaining and saying all those things. Pastor Tony, Brother Tony, Reverend Tony. For some of us, we get confused what to call that.
Well, I'm first and foremost Brother Tony.
Yes. So.
In fact, when I introduce myself, I simply introduce myself as Tony Akinyemi. That's all.
It makes life so easy. We are really so grateful. You mentioned the 5F thing along the line when you were talking. I know it's now a conference. I know I was part of it last year. Thank you for the privilege. Right. I spoke about faith.
Right.
So I know the one for this year is being planned.
Yeah, October 1 to 3.
Okay, October 1 to 3. Yeah. So if anybody wants to be part of it, how can they be part of the 5F conference?
Yeah, it's going to hold October 1, October 2, October 3. October 1 is public holiday, so it's starting at 4 p.m. to 6 p.m. October 2 is a Saturday, it's also 4 p.m. to 6 p.m. And Sunday, October 3 is 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. The venue is at the Shepherd's Flock International Church, 18 Shogule Street, Abule Onigbagbo, Ikeja. And then it will be streamed live also on Facebook and YouTube. So if you go to our YouTube channel, Official TSF Church on YouTube channel, you can join us on that platform. But again, we're on social media. We're advertising left, right, and center for people to join us on those 3 occasions.
Wow. Thank you so very much. I know people have been blessed, even though we started late, but then you've made it so a serious pack for us. Thank you so much, Bro Tony. I'm so grateful. Okay, maybe before you leave, the nutrition part of it, I know some people, since you mentioned it, maybe some people have been having issues with their health, diabetes or high blood pressure or some other things. Is there a way they can get in touch with you, or what's the process?
Yeah, for the past 16 years now, I've been doing free consultation for the general public. I don't charge a dime for my services. As a nutritional consultant, every Tuesday, I'm available in my office from 10 a.m. to attend to people free of charge. And people just walk in. You don't need an appointment. You just walk in. And we attend to you. Come with your medical records and any information you have. We will review, evaluate, and then we make our recommendations. And that's how it works. And so any Tuesday, the address is 18 Shogunle Street, Abule Onigbagbo, behind Etiebes Place. It's off Mobolaji Bank Anthony Way, Ikeja, Lagos. For those who are outside Nigeria, we can do that virtually by teleconsultation. You can send me either a WhatsApp message to my WhatsApp line, or you can send me an email to tony@tsfchurch.com. tony@tsfchurch.com. TSF stands for the Shepherd's Flock. tsfchurch.com. tony@tsfchurch.com. And we take it from there.
Okay. Thank you so much, Bro Tony. Thank you very much. Tony Enaoro was a successful politician, but then he was just a politician, and politicians are politicians. Your Tony is actually impacting lives, not just exciting lives, and
thank you.
Telling them what is not. So you've really actually excelled beyond what Tony Enaoro has done, and I know you will yet to do more than that by His grace. The Lord will continue to give us strength. I really appreciate your honoring this invitation. I know it's so tight for you. Thank you so much, most especially on a Thursday. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Once again, I apologize for the 20 minutes lost. I apologize sincerely. Thank you.
No, it's okay. We have gained it back.
Right.
So thank you everyone for being part of today's talk show again. Through It All, we call Olugbodi. Of course, like I always say, Through It All is the acronym, or the name of the program is Speak from my book, Through It All. Is the trials of the memoir of my trials and triumphs, the things I've gone through in life. And the book has really been blessing lives. If you are interested, you can always send me a message on WhatsApp, 08026143683, or you go to the website tia.com.ng, tia.com.ng. TIA is throughitall.com.ng. You can order for the book, and then it's going to be shipped to you. So thank you so much, everyone, for being part of tonight's edition. I hope we've been blessed. I hope you've been inspired. I hope you found encouragement. So good night, everyone. Pastor Tony, thank you so much, sir.
Thank you very much, sir. Thank you very much.
God bless you. Good night, everyone. All right.